How to pass arguments to a button command in Tkinter? Suppose I have the following button made with Tkinter in Python. The method action is called when I press the button, but what if I wanted to pass some arguments to the method action? I have tried with the following code. This just invokes the method immediately, and pressing the button does nothing. See Python argument binders for standard techniques, not Tkinter specific, for solving the problem. Working with callbacks in Tkinter, or other GUI frameworks, has some special considerations because the return value from the callback is useless. If you try to create multiple buttons in a loop, passing each one different arguments based on the loop counter, you may run into problems due to what is called late binding. Please see Tkinter creating buttons in for loop passing command arguments for details.
I personally prefer to use lambdas in such a scenario, because it's clearer and simpler and also doesn't force you to write lots of wrapper methods if you don't have control over the called method, but that's certainly a matter of taste. That's how you do it with a lambda. Note there's also some implementation of currying in the functional module, so you can use that too.
This can also be done by using partial from the standard library functools, like this.
Example GUI. Let's say I have the GUI. What happens when a button is pressed? See that when btn is pressed it calls its own function which is very similar to button_press_handle in the following example. You can simply think that command option should be set as the reference to the method we want to be called, similar to callback in button_press_handle. Calling a method callback when the button is pressed, without arguments. So if I wanted to print something when the button is pressed, I would need to set. Pay close attention to the lack of, with the print method, which is omitted in the meaning that, this is the method's name which I want you to call when pressed, but don't call it just this very instant. However, I didn't pass any arguments for the print, so it printed whatever it prints when called without arguments. With arguments. Now if I wanted to also pass arguments to the method I want to be called when the button is pressed, I could make use of the anonymous functions, which can be created with lambda statement, in this case the print built-in method, like the following. Calling multiple methods when the button is pressed, without arguments. You can also achieve that using lambda statement, but it is considered bad practice and thus I won't include it here. The good practice is to define a separate method, multiple underscore methods, that calls the methods wanted and then set it as the callback to the button press. With arguments. In order to pass arguments to method that calls other methods, again make use of lambda statement, but first. And then set. Returning objects from the callback. Also further note that callback can't really return because it's only called inside button underscore press underscore handle with callback as opposed to return callback. It does return but not anywhere outside that function. Thus you should rather modify objects that are accessible in the current scope. Complete example with global object modifications. Below example will call a method that changes btn's text each time the button is pressed. Mirror.
Python's ability to provide default values for function arguments gives us a way out. See this URL. For more buttons you can create a function which returns a function.